Billy Reeves here. Welcome to the Kscope podcast, in which we meet Godsticks in the flesh, way out in Wales. The new album, This Is What a Winner Looks Like, is out now. This is the current single, If I Don't Take It All. It's been 4 long years since I've been in the same room as Godsticks. So, making sure none of us had symptoms, I went over to Wales to speak to them about their new LP, some of my favourite people. Let's catch up. How did everybody deal with COVID? You've said that it took you a while to get your mojo back, thinking I've got to get back on the horse.
Yeah, I didn't write anything for the entire duration of it until I didn't write any music at all because I wasn't inspired. I wasn't doing anything. I was doing lots of stuff. I was studying and things like that. I even studied electronics and things like that. I got into a bit of biology as well. Enjoyed doing that. So I was always busy, but I didn't have any inspiration to write anything until we played those gigs in September 2021. Yeah. We played those few gigs after I was the first in God knows how long. And then all of a sudden I was able to write again, and I wrote I think 16 songs in like 7 months, which is this completely unheard of because it takes like 2 years to write 10 songs as a rule. Yeah. But that it must have been that reason.
But there is some defiance in the lyrics. Was that inspired by being on your own
really.
a lot?
I really enjoyed the COVID period. I loved it as a rule, apart just from like well, I wasn't chill out. I just enjoyed solitude and you didn't have to think of an excuse not to go out and do something, because like that's why I used to feel guilty with Rhiannon, my wife, and she'd say, "Oh, we should do this," and then now I could go, Oh, we can't. It's not my fault. We can't go out.
No,
So I got a choice but to stay in here.
It's a valid point. There was a certain amount of unity. Obviously, it was people, and people helping each other out. We did this at work. We'd make a difference where we were putting people in touch with people who could feed them. What happened with artists, I think, the upside of it is that artists dealt with the internet as a portal. But we all are perhaps a little bit obsessed with that.
So there was a lot of interesting things because artists felt that they had to share more. I remember like Steve Vai, for instance, doing a lot of sort of webcasts from his studio and just giving guitar lessons and things like that. I remember because there was a lot of people who was desperate to remain in touch with their fan base. Yeah. And desperate to have some attention in there.
But also to cheer people up. I mean, with my former colleague Sophie Ellis-Bextor. I mean, that was done with a good heart. But of course, I note with interest that you have a new bass player on the end here. Hi, Frankie.
Hey there. How's it going?
Welcome. You look like a a handsome, well-adjusted individual. Clearly, a very good bass player. So, what on earth are you doing in this group?
Good at the first bit, right? But this is very much my style. I've loved Brog. I've listened to Godsticks for a good few years now as well. Okay. I was introduced to them by a friend back when I was finishing up college, I think. Okay. And the boys asked me in for a gig over in the Netherlands.
Understand? Yeah.
I had a whale of a time there. We all had a great time. It was a great gig, and they asked me to stick around, and I jumped at it. Okay.
It's enormously. Darran described on your socials when introducing you that the material is complex, which I thought was an understatement. Is that something that you relish?
Yeah, I love that. I very much like to overplay and. I'm here, and I want at least some to know about it. So,
look, I've got someone's identified.
I've got
20% unnecessary strings.
Yeah, there we go. There's the elephant in the room, and I'm glad someone brought that to everyone's attention.
Thank you very much indeed. 7-string guitar over here, so it's all right. It's B.
You shouldn't need 6 strings on a bass, though. You are interfering in treble territory, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, no, basically,
it's like putting a fucking triangle on the end.
It's exactly like putting a triangle.
Yeah, it's unnecessary. You don't need it there. There's other instruments that will provide the triangle player does that.
As is traditional when I come down here, we get the chairs out that you're trying to get rid of every 4 years, like the World Cup. But also, I'm trying to get a handle on what I believe Godsticks means. Now, you poo-pooed my idea that it was like poo sticks, that God was playing with us by dropping us in, and then as we went under the bridge, and then laughing at us as whoever won the race came out the other side. But you poo-pooed that idea. So I was thinking that Godsticks are actually our skeletal remains, aren't they? That's what they are. They're the things left behind. We build our personality and our body. That's something we have control over. But the skeletal remains are the last thing to go. That's Godsticks, isn't it?
I prefer the other one.
Well, listen, congratulations on the album. I mean, it is a masterpiece, let's face it. And I think that also it seems to be... It's going to be interesting. I've only listened to it on a hooky CD, on bootleg, my bootleg of it. So I've not been able to listen to it on vinyl, but it is an album in 2 halves, isn't it? There's a kind of more of a traditional Godsticks sound to begin with, and then things start to go. I was going to say awry. I mean, strange. Well, there's one. I mean, I loved it all, but I mean. Don't Say a Word to Me was the one that absolutely blew my mind, that I want to talk about, because it's the Tesseract Carpenters crossover that I've been
everyone wanted.
No one was. I mean, it is. Was that the one that was? That was the one that was most difficult to get right, wasn't it? There's always an album, isn't it?
Funny enough, that was the one. You're right, actually, because I changed the chorus. We had a different chorus for ages. And I didn't like it, and Tom is just always stuck in his way. So if you try and change a demo, for instance, and you change, like, say, a chorus, it's like, I prefer the last one. But this one's better. Yeah, no, but it's not the last one. It's like, I know, this one's better.
That's the previous one, isn't it?
Yeah, I know, but it's like, remember, do you remember?
I honestly can't remember.
That's really good, useful with trauma. By the way.
So that was a difficult one to get right, because I didn't like the chorus because it was too easy or whatever. I can't remember what it sounded like, but I changed. Now I like the chorus.
often said this about Godsticks, is that you pack more ideas into one 3.5 minute song than most groups do in an entire fucking lifetime.
That's nice. That's a nice thing to hear, because I thought we perhaps don't do that as much as we did once before. Because I think perhaps there's lots of different layers these days, rather than lots of different segues into completely different ideas. Because I think that was the biggest mistake. Not mistake, because I don't regret anything, but. I must regret something.
Well, those shorts you were wearing earlier on. There's evidence that you regret.
So no, but you store them away, the cringe moments, I suppose. Anyway, I just digress. What was I on about?
Gavin, was that song the most difficult song to get right? Was there one that kind of came together really easily, and was there one that was the squeaky wheel? Which can you remember?
Lying was probably one of the trickiest ones. There's a track called Pump. That took me a hell of a long time because it wasn't.
Wake up!
Wake up!
Yeah.
Wake up!
Wake up because I've fallen.
Yeah.
Wake up for me. That wasn't something that I was naturally okay with. Okay. So I really had to work on that one. So for me, that was the trickiest one. But what I find about your riffs and music in general is that the clever bits are layered up, so you don't really notice them as much. But on this album, there's lots of those bits that come out, like Trickery and all the rest of it. So yeah, it's not as hidden
Gavin's
as it was
little
before.
bits, they always add like what's the one we just recorded a video for? What's that called?
If I don't take it all.
I don't take it all.
Don't take it. The one that's about the Incredible Hulk.
Yeah. yeah. Like there's little bits and bobs that he put in there in the middle section.
Oh right.
They're all the things that I like. Those that elevated up into like 3D. I always like to think.
That's a nice way of putting it. I think also there's the other thing where it can go wrong. I think with the sort of thing that you are all trying to achieve is that sometimes it can be hyper real, that you can show your workings, like trying to take a Bic pen and make it look like a photograph, and I think that's probably something that you did in the past that you're not doing now. Now you're kind of like letting your right brain take over a little bit, especially with some of the top lines, I think.
I think, because I think I used to get, because of the way that people compose music these days, there's not many people just sit in a room and just write together. When you do it on a computer and you're just doing it in like small sections at a time, all these things that initially sounded bizarre, they start to sound normal until you've released the album, and then you realise that perhaps like, oh, fuck, this wasn't normal. Because I remember doing it for the early albums. That's why we don't play a lot of material from the early albums.
I can ask you about that.
Because like I don't like it anymore. I liked it at the time, that kind of stuff I liked at the time, but I don't really like playing it anymore, or I like listening to it anymore, because I remember that it all changed for me when we was playing, like, These wasn't about then. You wasn't about for the Envisaged.
He wasn't born then, was he?
Yeah.
He was born.
But I remember when we was touring in Europe with the Aristocrats, I think it was about 2014 perhaps, and he was playing one of the songs, The Envisaged Conundrum, and I was at the stage where we were playing live, where I could listen quite a lot to what was going on, because a lot of time, because you practice, you always concentrate on your part, but I was that well rehearsed. This time I could listen to what was going on.
Okay. You couldn't see the join.
Yeah, and it was like, it was like one idea was gone. Is that there was a nice groove to it. Then I'd be switching to another idea, and the groove's gone. Then and I'm thinking, if I was watching this in the audience as a listener, I was thinking, just fucking stick with one idea for a minute.
Yeah, agreed. 100% agree. Especially as your stuff is quite short.
Yeah.
You don't want to get in. You want to get in and out of it. Mayhem. Tom, right? I mean, what amazes me about that is especially going into the first chorus. When I first heard it, I thought, amazing top line, it's Eurovision, man. And then suddenly I'm thinking, it's in sixth time, and I didn't notice it move. Yeah. How's that done?
Yeah, that's one of the really, really cool things about that song. And I think that was down to our own confusion when we were listening to the demo. Well, for me especially. Anyway, when I was practicing the part, and Darran I think was initially saying, okay, so you just play your groove, play in 4, and then I'd be playing along and be thinking, oh, hold on, this kind of feels like triplety. This kind of feels like 6. So I think at one point we must have ended up with 2 versions of the way to play with that song. And I think we must like both, because we thought, well, hey, let's do a little transition. Let's see if we can kind of swap them around. And
I've listened to it a couple of times. And I can't work out. I mean, it's a bit more. Second time, it's a bit more obvious because you think, oh, let's not do that again. Let's do that. Let's do that waltz time in it. Darran said in his typically acerbically amusing press release about that he wanted to injure you.
Yes.
Right. I was thinking, how do you all play this music? Frank, I'll ask you first. How do you play this music without getting yourself injured? Do you have to? Is it muscle memory? Is that a bit of a myth? Do you all go jogging? I mean, you all look very well. How do you play this music without injuring yourself?
Practice, I guess.
Just
Sit there for hours, just like I've done this scale like about 9 times. Yeah, go on, let's go again.
Has anybody injured themselves? All the Godstickses.
Yeah, do you know what? Yeah, I have. I got tons of injuries. I have got tons of injuries. I got a really bad shoulder.
Oh yeah.
Got bad shoulder.
Bad neck
really
these
bad.
days.
I have got messed up my shoulder of late. I've been on physio and stuff on my shoulder.
And that's due to playing ridiculously fast.
It ain't so much that I
Degent.
suppose it's like tension. I just always a little bit tense when I play, so I've had to relax. But also, when learning these tracks now, learn to sing and play because I wouldn't have
been done at the same time.
It's a pain in the ass. It's like constant repetition because you never we was talking about it the other day, weren't we? Because you can never. There's no method, to learning to play and sing at the same time. There's no method. It's just you got to keep playing it over and over and over again until it finally clicks. So you can't even like I said, I wish it was just a method for it. But it's not.
It's tough. I mean, do you have a question for you as second guitarist, right? Do you ever feel like, let's just phone it in? Seriously with this one, this is just too much. It's too much work. Can't I just play G?
Yeah, open cowboy chords.
Yeah,
please.
isn't there some sort of pedal right and just go and show the audience?
Well, it is nice to have. There's some moments during the songs where they're pretty simple, should I say, and it's necessary to have those simple parts of the songs. So
have a little bit of a breather.
Have a bit of a breather.
And there's a throw in.
Yeah. But I suppose warming up before you're playing is important, and that prevents injury. To a degree.
I actually think this is easier to play than something like just a straightforward, like say Led Zeppelin acoustic number or something like that. Yeah. Because those kind of things rely on feel and just playing and leaving spaces and having. Whereas like when there's stuff that's busy going on, you haven't got time to think. It's like it's quite easy. I think it's a lot. I'd find this a lot easier than I would just strumming a guitar song. Just something on acoustic. And I don't think that music's any. In fact, I look up to that kind of music. I like to write that
Is that
stuff.
because you're trying to keep people's attention? Because if you're worried that you're going to get bored, are you worried that they're going to get bored? And also on that same question, as you've said many times before, that you didn't start playing live for ages because you thought it was bizarre that anybody would want to listen to you. Right, so are those two?
I never said that. You just put words in my mouth. I won't wait
But you didn't. That's why you started late. You didn't have any sort of compunction to be in a band. So now you are in a band, and now this band is grizzled. Right, you want to keep people's attention because you feel as though they'd get bored.
The heavier side of stuff that we eventually sort of ventured into, I always imagine again. It's going back to that story I told. I always these days I write. Wondering what it would sound like live and what it would sound like as me as an audience member. And I know that, even though we do a lot of softer type of stuff, live-wise, there's just more interest for me as a listener and as an audience member in the heavier stuff because I just want to nod your head,
But I don't think you do with Godsticks though. I don't think you do. I don't think it's not that dumb.
No.
It's you're dumb people playing clever music, rather than say like Sonic Youth, which is the opposite. Yeah. So it's full of colour.
I don't think that's a quote we'll eventually use. I don't think.
Dumb people playing clever music.
That's going up there. Let me tell you.
I don't think even that. I'll just leave that to people's imagination rather than spell it out.
So if you're saying that you're having to rehearse doing the two at the same time, you don't write both at the same time then?
No, it's always the guitar riff. It's now the melodies later on. Because that'll be too restrictive anyway. If I did that, there's only a certain amount of stuff that I can do naturally, just singing and playing. So I'd be restricting either my guitar playing or I'd be restricting my vocals. So I have to record them separately and then suffer later on.
Okay.
Have
you tried doing them at the same time?
Yeah, I think bits and bobs. Have I? No.
Okay.
Actually, no.
That's really interesting. That's fascinating, I think.
What, melody first and then guitar chords?
Just
No,
because
because it'd be
it'd pick up the
restricted.
guitar and go,
It's-
okay, this is what I want to say.
Yeah.
It'd be restrictive because that's weirdly your hands always influence your rhythmic pattern, your vocals, and your vocals always try to influence your guitar hands as well. So whatever you improvise, it's going to be quite restrictive.
So they have to be two separate things.
Yeah, in order to create the best possible melody or the best possible guitar part.
Because most of the time you're playing notes of the chords anyway, so...
Yeah, that's like when I don't really like improvisation as a rule, improvising solos and things like that, because you always, by the sheer nature, unless you've got a massive, huge vocabulary, you'll tend to draw on things that you always play. You know, that's not to say there's anything wrong with improvisation, but if I used to improvise, I would improvise just as I'm practicing or recording. I'll improvise then, but it'll be complete want and abandon.
Well,
it'll be
everything
anything.
I guess everything is improvised.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. And but like I'll listen back then to a completely free improvisation, pick out things that I like, but they wouldn't be things that I normally play. I'd just be literally just going all over the fretboard or trying anything.
Okay, do you improvise, Gavin, in this group?
Yes, only in one song.
I didn't know.
I didn't know that.
But I improvised
What
at
song is that
first. Exit stage right.
Was there?
Yeah, in the solo.
I'll open it.
But there's I keep some memorable hooks that you put, but then the spaces in between I improvise a little tiny bit. Yeah,
Sacked.
That bastard does. I'm sure you improvise.
it's a full-on improvised space solo
I
throughout the
just
song.
have a bass line to see what happens.
Yeah. See, I like that. See, I like that. See, I like the discipline. You've also said it's a great Darran quote, which I want to take you up on. You've also said, and I quote, "Loads of people I know don't know I'm a guitarist or play in a band."
Oh,
Were you being like facetious for attention-seeking purposes?
No,
or
I'll
is
tell
that
you
true?
why. Because one day someone will say, "Prove it." Do you know what I mean? That's the worry. If someone like you, let's say, like I remember some like guitar teacher saying, like in the Guitar Institute, like he was like an incredible like fusion player. But he said, like, if someone asked to put an acoustic guitar in my hand at a party and asked me to play, he'd just die of fright.
Yeah.
Just because that,
God, yeah.
I think I'd be struggling. If he's give me an acoustic guitar and say, strum a song, I don't know any.
Wake up, there's a miracle near. Wake up, another restoring fear. Thing with this, there's no better fate to miss. Till that's gone, we'll move on towards abyss. Wake up, is it nearly too late? Time's up, don't be caught at the gate. Wrong to say that you don't know where you belong. Cold and scared, do you believe you're so strong?
Wake Up. The closing track from Godsticks' new album, This Is What a Winner Looks Like, which is out now. Before that, you heard Don't Say a Word to Me, and before that, the current single, If I Don't Take It All. There's a video for that up now, and there's also a video for the first single, Mayhem, up online as well, so you can try and work out how they get from a 4 in the bar to a 6 in the bar. My huge thanks to Darran, Gavin, Tom and Frankie for a fantastic day out in Wales. We did have a right laugh, as you can probably tell, and thanks also to Gavin for playing guitar on my album. And talking of guest guitarists, of course, briefly, Darran Charles from Godsticks was part of the Pineapple Thieves touring ensemble, and the Yeovil Proggers have an 8-disc limited edition deluxe book set coming out on the 23rd of June, entitled How Did We Find Our Way 1999 to 2006. From that then, this is Perpetual Night Shift.
forget the pain. Never once. Oh, what a special day. Only once. Never forget that day. If only once. It never happened, it's okay. It'll turn around.
Perpetual Night Shift, The Pineapple Thief, one of my all-time favourites by them, originally from 137, now part, as I say, of this 8-disc limited edition deluxe book set, How Did We Find Our Way, which is out on the 23rd of June, and Bruce Sword is my very special guest in the flesh in the next Kscope podcast, where we shall also be giving you some exciting OZRIC Tentacles news. So to celebrate, from Paper Monkeys, the Edwin remaster, double album and CD, Lost in the Sky. OZRIC Tentacles, Lost in the Sky, from Paper Monkeys, the Edwin remastered double album and compact disc. Right, your Kscope notice board this month goes like this. Godsticks are touring to promote This Is What a Winner Looks Like, with club dates in Cardiff, London, Newcastle and Edinburgh, followed by festival dates. The OZRICs and Gong are teaming up in the spring for another joint tour. Tangerine Dream are in the UK in November, and New Bugs Empire are taking their rocking album Relentless out on the road in late July with a tour with their friends from Canada, The Damn Truth. And on the 23rd of June, Porcupine Tree, Coma Coda, the transmission edition, hits the streets. Now, thank you as ever so much for listening to the Kscope podcast. Do please like, share and comment. Tell your friends. Let's keep supporting these wonderful independent artists. And talking of Porcupine Tree, it's 15 years since I interviewed Tim Bowness, who alongside Porcupine Tree's Stephen Wilson were, for many years, the act known as No Man. So therefore, it's 15 years since Kscope dropped their album, Together We're Stranger. So to celebrate this momentous occasion, I'm going to finish this podcast with the classic The Breakup of For Real. And as an introduction, here's Tim Bowness from the Kscope podcast episode 2. Lovely little vignette this from the interview about his working relationship with Mr. Stephen Wilson. See you next time. Ta-da!
I suppose we use the best method to come up with the best result, and that can be me coming up with original song ideas and myself and Stephen arranging it and taking it somewhere different, Stephen coming up with a backing track that I write lyrics to and melodies, or the two of us just sitting around in the studio, and it's very much a collaborative process between the two of us, and I suppose that differs from a lot of Stephen's other projects where he perhaps has the upper hand.
Trot out the title jokes, avoid the things that seem new. No talk about the wife, she lives with someone else now. Forget your former life, when love became a cold cow. Driving to the coast, it's hard to know what hurts the most. Learning how to feel, it's the breakup for real. Learning how to feel, it's the breakup for real. Go out to see some friends, you hope that you won't lose it.